Hi and welcome back to the channel. I've taken a liberty in the downtime just to give the inside and outside a wipe down. Nothing spectacular, but we need the oil seals out, so you can either do that with a hook, a screwdriver. That should pull out. There you go, that's one out, and the other side's got one as well inside there. If you look at it, it's sealing inside the bearings. It's hopefully I should be able to get that out from there just by using that. Yeah, there she comes. So that's the second bearing out, oil seal. And if I give that a wipe now, you should be able to see we have bearings. Yeah, one there and one in there. I need that rag just to give that a wipe. So what we're going to do is knock the bearings out, and again, a lot of people say to use like rubber mallets or wooden mallets, not like nylon. Like use that with a hammer to knock it out. What you'll find is in here, when you push this bearing in here, it sits against the shoulder inside, so it can't go any further in than the shoulder, and then it's held in with a circlip, if I can see it. Yeah, it's there. So we need to just take the circlip out again with our circlip pliers. I'll do that off camera because I need to lay it flat again. But you basically use your circlip plier, pull it out, and then this bearing comes towards you. Right, so that's our circlip that holds the bearing in. And what we can do is knock the bearing out from the inside, basically. What I tend to use is just a little drift like this. If you move the center rod out the way, you can just knock on that a bit. So what I'm going to do is just stick that down on there with a bit of rag under it, and I'm just going to see if I can just tap it through at the moment. Like I say, I won't be using these bearings again, so whether they're damaged or not, I don't really give a monkey's. But what I'm doing is I'm putting that through the middle of the rod against the bearing, and then just tapping the bearing out. You can already hear it moving. Right, that's probably right at the end. It is actually at the end. So for now, again, there you go, one bearing out, and there's our spacer rod. Stick that in there, and inside there we can see our other bearing now. I will pick up these bits in a bit, but that's, if you can see inside there, I'll try and bring it very close. There is a lip in there where the bearing goes in. Don't try and knock the bearing in through that way, because you'll cock up the hub. This bearing then comes this way. So it's, if I can try and explain what I've been doing on the bearing, so I'll just put this flat for a sec and grab the bearing wherever it's gone on the floor. Actually, it went in the tin. What I'm doing with this is I'm moving it to hit there, 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 hit there. So the middle of that bearing is still as good as new. That could be reused. All you have to do is just be careful that you don't hit the middle, you're hitting the outside. And because it's sealed, there's no real, there is a tool for it, but where'd you stop buying all these special tools? I don't know. So again, we can put that down on there and use the same method again to hit around the outside of the bearing, and that bearing should pop out that way. I'm not hitting it very hard. And that, you can see that's coming. This one's got a long way to come out. What you can do as well is you can sort of try a bigger drift in there if you like, a bigger socket, or if you want a nylon sort of way of doing it, I could use that on the end and knock it out, but I just find that, you know, just a drift like that is fine. So I'm going to carry on going around the outside edges. And that's out. That's hanging there, you see that? So all I've got to do now is just put the drift in and use my hands. So what we've got now, if I clean that out, is we've got a lip on there and a lip on there, and make sure you clean all of that out, all the old grease out of there, so it's nice and clean. And what I tend to do then is I'll put this bearing in first on here, so we move them old bearings out the way. What you can do is you can use one bearing to start another bearing. So if we take our bearing out of there, you can put them in the fridge like you do with the engines and freeze them. I just don't like the fact that it's condensation basically, so you're inducing water. And these are fag bearings I'm putting in. And again, anybody who's been watching my videos will know I put them with any of the writing where you can read it. So what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of grease. Everything's so bloody hot all day today. And we're going to grab a little bit of grease and pack that bearing with some grease on the outside edges, inside. Pack it solid with grease on both sides and run it up. There you go. Put a bit of grease inside here, and that's my right hand side facing me again. Just put that in slightly in there. My hands are wipe again. And if you just clean up the bearing, you can get that to start by just tapping that bearing against the other one. Obviously you don't want to knock it in. So what I'm doing now with my punch is on the edges, just knock it slightly. When it's dropping into place, you'll hear a note change and you'll know that's home. That's home. I don't know if you heard that, it's like a high ping, a very high ping noise. And what we can do is pick it up again and have a look, and we're home. No, we're not, it's a little bit further than that, but this is the beauty of checking before, you know, you actually go mad with anything. So excuse me while I just do this out of view. So you're not banging anything but the outside edge of the bearing. And I think that's actually home now. Let's just check that. Nope, that's still a bit further to go. Weird. If you've got a punch that's obviously the correct size, then obviously use that. I'm quite happy with that now. Yeah, that's home now. And what I'm doing there is I'm just putting my finger inside and I can't feel any gap. In fact, I could probably do that just a tad more. I'm being over the top here. That, I believe, is home. Definitely home this time. Yes, that's home. That can't go any further than that. So what we're doing now, if we turn this over, I'm not putting the oil seals in yet. We're doing the second bearing. But what we also need to do before we do anything is the spacer tube needs to go in, so that needs wiping down and greasing up. That's the spacer tube. I'll give that a good clean. It's in pristine condition because it's obviously coated in grease. And it shouldn't actually touch anywhere on there, it should be loose. See that? On the axle. Because you're not relying on, that's just a distance piece basically to keep the two bearings apart when you're tightening the two halves together. So in effect what you're doing is you're relying on both ends. So we'll pack that with grease again. I put a good smudging of grease on it and just drop it in place, and then put a bit of grease in here again. Give your hands a wipe again. And the second bearing, again we need it with the numbers facing you. You don't have to, it's just what I like to do. These are Chinese made, and one's made in Portugal and one's made in China. 6201 C, for anybody who needs to know what they are. So again I'm taking that bearing out and I'm looking for the numbers, which are this way to me, so that's going to face me again. And I'm packing the bearings with grease again. Both sides packed. Spin them 3 or 4 times when you've packed them out, so the grease gets in everywhere, and press it again. So you're turning the bearings to get the grease in everywhere. And again, the writing part on it which is that way round, goes in that way. So anyone following you basically can know what bearings you've used. So I'm just going to use that one to start that off again. It wasn't actually going in level, so what I've done there is I've just tapped on the edge to bring it in line. So just take it slightly inside like that, and then we can use our punch again once I've wiped my hands. It's a greasy, messy job, but somebody's got to do it. So we're after this again, and what we're doing here again is do them like a Mercedes badge. So top edge, and then like a Y shape, inverted Y. This one won't take much to push in, and bear in mind you're only just clearing where the circlip goes, which I can't see the circlip at the moment. Just make sure that the rod's in position, which it is. Let's have a look. Sidewards on. I would say that just needs a tad more, and just a tad more, because it's just in line with the circlip. Can you hear the note? Let's give that a wipe again, and then we need our circlip. Clean the circlip up, so we don't want no crap getting in there into any bearing, or all your building work's just been wasted. And then put it in, use your pliers, put it in, and what I do then is I just use the same punch. That's in. And just give it a wiggle so you know it's in the groove. Yeah, that's in the groove. So that's our bearings put in our disc, and we've got our centre axle spacer is in position. Right, what we're doing now with the oil seals is again give them a wipe. Where's the cleaner rag? Give them a wipe, and then fill them with grease again. I'll take some grease, fill up inside with grease, and put a bit of grease on the outside edge just to help seat it. And what you're after is the spring goes towards the middle of the hub. Basically you're sealing the hub against grease coming out this way, and you can normally just push them in. Again, use the old bearing, and what we're after is this level. I would say that's near enough perfect. That's level. If we grab our axle, which I did take out a second ago, which is there, just put your greasy hands on it, and we should be able to line up the rod to go through there. We basically need that in line, or you're going to be pushing and pulling and basically causing a lot of grief trying to line that up. Sometimes it's easier from, yeah, it's not, it just needs bringing down on there. So I'll just get the screwdriver in there. do is just push it through the other side. It's slightly high, not 100% in line. Right. And bear in mind that this bearing on the inside, this one here, can't go any further than the spacer anyway. So once we've got that in alignment, which for some reason it's slightly up there, might need a bigger screwdriver. That one. Looks like it's in line. It's not far off, is it? Normally you can just wiggle it and it will actually come in line, but this one's fighting me for some reason. I think it needs to come up that way. That is definitely fighting me all the way. And yet it's relatively free. There you go, it's in line. So what's holding that now is the bearing. Just give that a tap with a wooden end, or indeed the bench, and what we're after is that to come straight through. So that's our spacer lined up in the middle, and we can push that back, take that out of there and put our second oil seal in. And again, I just don't want anything, of course it drops it, I don't want anything under there where it's painted. And take our last oil seal, which is there, give that a wipe, make sure it's nice and clean. And again, we're sealing that way so the spring goes in the middle, and fill it up with grease again. You can't put too much grease in here unless you're absolutely mad. For the simple reason that it's got loads of space around that tube, the spacer tube. So I'm putting a bit of grease around the outside edge again, like so. Put it in the middle of there, push it in place, and again, if you've got the right size punch, it's a doddle. I just want that to be level, which it is. And then ram that home all the way against the bearing. So we're going to use our drift again, which is under there, and again go round in a circle. And because it's an oil seal, just be a bit more soft with it if you like. You still want to go on the outside edge. And then you don't want to damage anything inside there. So that is how quick it is to put oil seals and bearings in on your front brake. I don't know how much a dealer would charge for that. Hundreds probably. So that's that side of it built. So what we've got now is, let's get another rag and clean my hands off. We're going to be looking at this side. So we know we've already got the oil seal put in there, so I'm going to pack that with grease. And I mean pack it with grease as well, I don't mean be shy with it. Put quite a bit in there. And just give the oil seal a wipe. You don't want no grease on the disc itself. And make sure the oil seal is, the leading edge is dry basically, and it's in place. Well, that's that. I noticed the battery's going to die on me in a minute, so what I'm going to explain is I'll be opting for which better pads I'm going to use, tidy up a bit, and I'll probably put a new battery in and call the next one part 5, building this bit up. Thanks for watching, bye.